Hello and welcome back to our business law class. We are continuing with the sources of law in Kenya. We have now reached judicial precedence. Judicial precedence. This can also be called case law or judge-made. In this case, we'll be looking at how law is formed through cases which have been decided by judges and how it comes into operation as a source of a law in Kenya. Okay, one thing is that it is a written source of law because, of course, once judges make laws, they have records from where other judges can learn from. It can be described as a method of learning law through cases. So judges learn from other judges, of course, through what they have come up with when they are making judgments. Okay, in this during the learning, a case is studied and the decision therein, and that's when we get to know the legal rules relating to the factual situation of a case. To effectively apply case law, we need to mention the below doctrines. So there are various important doctrines that we need to mention as we get to learn what judicial precedence or case law or judge-made law is. And the first doctrine that we need to note is stare decisis, okay? And this is just to say that the decision stands. The decision stands. Okay, the doctrine of stare decisis literally means that the decision stands. The next one is ratio decidendi, or the doctrine of ratio decidendi, which just means the reason for this decision. Okay, that is the reason for the decision. The last doctrine we need to talk about is obiter dictum. Okay, these are just Latin words which are used in law so that they can retain their original meanings. And obiter dictum just means by the way statements. Okay, so during a judgment or a ruling, the judge will have some statements which he makes by the way, and they can be relied on when you are applying judicial precedence. Okay, so let's get to stare decisis and explain it. This is when a judge applies that is when a judge applies stare decisis, he looks at a previous case. So in stare decisis, the judge looks at a previous case. He looks at a previous case, sees if the material facts are similar with the current case. Of course, he is looking at a current case and looks at whether the material facts are similar. Then this will help him decide the case the same way as the previous case was decided. Okay. The general rule is that a decision made by a court of high level binds all lower cases. Okay, that is what it talks about in terms of stare decisis. It requires that once a court of a higher level court makes a decision, it binds all lower courts, and that's what we call precedence. Okay. Then we continue with types of precedence. Types of precedent. Okay, and number one type is the original precedent. Okay, this is where no previous precedence exists before the precedent that is being made, that becomes an original precedent. The other one is declaratory precedent. Okay, this is where a precedent applies an existing legal principle. The facts are straightforward and the judge just reads the law as it is. It is just straightforward. straightforward. Okay, the judge just reads the law and it is applied as is. The other one is the distinguishing precedent. The distinguishing precedent in this case is where the judge shows that the facts of an earlier precedent are different from the current facts. Okay, that is, it comes with a different precedent. Number 4 is overruling precedent. Okay, this is a case ceases to have any authority in case an earlier case was wrongly decided, and therefore once the wrongly decided case is overruled, that's when we come to overruling a precedent. The other one is binding or authoritative precedent. Binding or authoritative precedent. This is when, of course, a precedent that the judge has to follow, whether he accepts or approves it or not. Okay. Methods of avoiding. How do judges avoid precedents? Methods of avoiding precedent. Okay. And of course, we have distinguishing as a method. Distinguishing as a method. This is the practice of showing two cases got different material facts. The next one is change in circumstances. Change in circumstances. The next one is per incuriam. Okay, per incuriam is ignorance or forgetfulness of the law, and the other one is improper conviction. This is, of course, where a person gets the wrong conviction. The other one is where a precedent has been overruled by a statute. Okay, of course, statutes are laws made through parliament or an act of parliament. The next one is where the ratio decidendi related, where the ratio decidendi. Remember what we have said. Ratio decidendi means relied upon is too wide or too vague. Where the ratio decidendi is vague, that's when we can stop relying on a precedent. The other one, the last one is if the decision relied upon has many conflicting